By the way, first of all, anything I say is my own opinion and not necessarily representative of the Atheist Community of Austin, the nonprofits, or anything else.
Here's our disclaimer.
But I'm going to be fair. And while atheism isn't a top-down sort of organization, it's not like we have dogma or, you know, whoever's running a particular organization is not like the Pope.
Right.
They're basically, you know, a CEO of a nonprofit, et cetera.
Are you saying I'm not a Pope?
You are not.
Excommunicated. That's the
Pope of the atheists.
Let's see how well that works out for you.
Sorry.
But we should be careful to not pretend that the secular community is above things like this. Now, we don't have the particular scandals going on, but there are plenty of other scandals. There are a number of prominent male secularists who have been accused of being inappropriate with women. Some of them we know for a fact this is, you know, the case.
Accurate,
and others we don't. The mistake is if you try to pretend like, oh, we are the utopian.
No, I think
we need to fix stuff.
I think the thing you point to is what the response is.
Yes.
So, for example, like you were touring around with Krauss when that broke, and then he was off the circuit. I think I brought this up the week that the thing broke. The Pope and all of the cardinals and all of the bishops and all of the priests are still there, right? They're not. They're protected by the organization still, and I don't know.
Well, when it went down, when this thing with Krauss, and first of all, I will say that all my interactions with Lawrence Krauss were positive. I had a good time. I enjoyed his company, and nothing that he was actually accused of that was substantive comes close to what we're talking about. But setting that aside, we knew of issues, and basically Sam and I decided, or Sam mostly, but I mean, I went along with it. We were going to do that one event without him. But immediately, when I did not make a statement within the first week or so that I'm renouncing Lawrence Krauss and will never work with him again,
you cut.
I was compared to the Catholic Church.
Sure.
And so this problem of hyperbole on the part of the left or the far left or the secularists or whatever else is a big deal, because eventually I pointed out that, no, I don't have any plans to ever work with Krauss again. I think that there were things that he could have done to potentially, you know, rehabilitate himself and work, and he wasn't taking those steps. And that's his prerogative. I'm not saying that he's, you know, a monster or anything else. I'm just saying I don't have any reason to ever want to work with him again until he takes the steps he needs. That's the way things should work. By the way, if there's a crime, there should be you know, witnesses and prosecution to the extent that we can. If it's not so much a crime, but it's, hey, this person is repeatedly inappropriate in a certain setting, then those people in charge need to remove that person from that setting to not put them up on a pedestal. And there also needs to be the option for rehabilitation, to say, you know what, holy crap, I had no idea, or I did this all wrong, and now but you shouldn't have some expectation that you're ever going to be welcome back in the same capacity you were. There's another individual who will remain nameless.
Oh yeah,
who basically, after 4 months of not being in the limelight, decided to post an open letter to say, oh, you know, I've been working on myself and I'm so much better. And by the way, here's the problems with the atheist community, and I'm ready to come back and lead. And I was like, oh, no, you fucking don't.
Yeah, I mean, I am charged by the bylaws of this organization to respect privacy. However, I can tell you from past experience and the current policies of the board of the Atheist Community of Austin that the Atheist Community of Austin has a much better record of handling anything that even fits into this category at all better than the Roman Church at the moment.
And probably better than some others. One of the
and
things
yet we're the ones that eat babies still.
One of the things is that I've been through this with different organizations from different sides. And I made a post to some friends of mine in a private group about how absolutely sick I am of lawyers, although I recognize they're valuable.
Oh, yeah.
The problem is that there needs to be more transparency, and yet we live in the sort of culture where that transparency is effectively impossible, because even a nuisance suit that has no grounds can bury and bankrupt an organization really quickly.
Yeah, we need federal anti-SLAPP legislation.
Yeah.
Which is strategic lawsuit against public participation. So it's you criticize, for example, I don't know, I know that this has happened. If I've described it as frivolous in this way, I shouldn't name anyone because I don't want to get sued. But this has happened with people that promulgate ideas about what is healthy to eat and weird quasi-non-science crap that they sell books on and gain notoriety that they're not deserving because they're not an expert on anything, this hypothetical person that is not a specific person. And they sue and are unbelievably litigious to any criticism because they know that lawsuits are expensive and the other guy's got to pay for it as well. So.
And Westboro Baptist Church has done that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I will not say that that is their primary motivation. There are other people who've accused them of that basically they're doing all this shock value, God hates fags type stuff in order to have people do things so that they can then sue because that's their primary funding. I think it's funny that there's a number of people in that family who are lawyers.
Oh, yeah.
And that, you've got a church that's based on, I'm not saying that's their primary motivation, but they are litigious. And the thing is, I value legal protections, but the system is never, ever going to be perfect. And one of the things we need to recognize is that I've seen some oversimplifications on these things where people will say, going back to accusations relative to Me Too movement and other things like that, it's like, well, why didn't they go to the cops? Okay, you have a completely bizarre understanding about the way things actually work.
Right.
Because, first of all, if it's a he said, she said type of situation, you can wind up putting the victim on trial, making them relive an experience. And for a lot of people, it's just much easier to say, no, I want to ignore this and hope that it never happens again.
Make it go away.
And this is how we help support the monsters know how to get away with this. They know how to pick, their victims. It's just not that simple. It'd be great if it was that simple. Hey, you wronged me. I'm going to take action against you, and the law is going to do justice right, except that equating the law with justice is just boneheadedly stupid at this point.
Yep.
Because it's not that.
Yeah. No, there are aspects of justice that, so the relationship between law and justice and government and a citizen are things that were talked about by Socrates. And
that's been around a while. And it's like I'm completely opposed to the notion of like vigilante justice. But I completely understand where it comes from.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the motivation,
And to tie this back to religion, it's because we fundamentally know that we would prefer a world that is fair.
Yeah.
That where the unjust are not rewarded, where the just are not punished, where if you're wronged, there's some recompense. And when we see that in the universe that we inhabit, that is not the case.
It does not
We
happen.
have a couple of options. We can believe in a fictional, all-knowing, all-loving being who's going to reward and punish after life, or a cosmic karmic sense that will reward and punish in the next life. Or we can implement laws to do the best we can as flawed beings to try to salvage some aspect of justice. And I'm stuck with number 3 because the first two just aren't true.
That's all we got.
Yeah. It's true. Also, there's something to be said about society, particularly in an era of mass communication and changing the culture, right? Like there was a time in the recent past where being born a bastard was a problem for you, not just your parents. And that, I mean, I wasn't alive when that stigma was as strong as it had been, but there's a lot of things that play into that. And
there was a lot of stigma on divorce
for a long time.
up until the 80s.